You are listening to the Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast. In every episode, our goal is to help, inspire, and celebrate authors' journey to publication by reading and critiquing query letters, then tackle a writing topic we hope you find helpful. Welcome back to Two Writers Walk Into a Bar. Hey, Ken.
Hey, what's up?
All right, guys. So it's a whole new, what's been 2 weeks now, I think. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Ken, how was your week?
It was good.
Yeah.
Writing wise, not the most prolific week,
Yeah.
but I got a little bit in there, a couple thousand this week, so
Nice.
yeah,
Hey, that's better than nothing. I did
it is.
too. I didn't make tremendous progress, but I made some progress. So I am
Nice.
kind of same with you. Probably did about 1,500 maybe.
Yeah, not my
But
best
I was
week.
reading, I'm reading The Cousins. Oh, the book is over there. I'm reading a YA mystery. It's called The Cousins. Pretty good. It's keeping me pulled in. So I'm almost done with it. I think I have like a couple chapters.
Oh hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm listening to Brandon Sanderson's Yumi and the Nightmare Painter,
Oh,
which
nice. Okay.
I'm listening to, and I'm so close. I've got like an hour and 18 minutes left. So
Yeah.
after this, I will be finishing that
Oh,
tonight.
nice. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna be finishing up my book tonight too. I realized that I don't know, it's a mystery novel. I have a little bit of mystery in my manuscript, and so I
Yeah,
kind of wanted to see like how she did it and like different things, all the different twists and stuff like that. My book is not a mystery genre,
yeah,
but I just kind of like sometimes you got to
the
get like
elements.
inspired. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I was just in the mood for that, and it worked out, and it's keeping me reading. So,
Yeah, and on my phone, on my Kindle, I'm reading Shadow of the Gods still by John Gwynne,
oh,
and
nice. Okay.
I'm falling in love with that book. It's so good.
Oh, good.
It's like
Yay.
Norse mythology, fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
It's so
Yep.
cool.
That's
It's
a good
really good.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me know when you start the ninth house. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on
That
that.
I was going to start that, like we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I was gonna start it, but
Yeah.
I'm I ended up getting the Dark Tower comics,
Oh,
that
you
giant
did.
book. Yes,
Oh,
hold on.
awesome.
I gotta reach over this and grab it. Hold on. Sorry for the, because it's so cool.
I'm
All right.
glad you got it.
Yes. This, and it weighs like 10 pounds, but
Oh my God. So it's the whole series as a graphic
the
novel?
whole series of the graphic novels, like
Dang.
the whole thing, it's so
That's
cool.
sweet.
And
Nice.
yeah, it's Dark
It's
Tower.
your coffee table book.
Yes, you gotta love the Dark Tower.
Awesome. Well, that's
So
cool, man.
yeah, it stopped the ninth house from happening.
Oh,
So
okay. It's okay. I'm a mood reader, so I totally get that.
yeah, it'll happen. It's coming.
Yes. All right, cool. What are you drinking?
Oh, Old Faithful, Moab the Grand,
All right. Well, I switched it up
Exit
today.
Privacy.
I'm having a glass of Chardonnay.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice,
Yes.
fancy,
My husband bought me the biggest bottle of wine from Costco. I don't know why,
nice.
but I was like, I guess I have to drink it all.
Hmm. There's nothing else you could do with that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could invite somebody over to help me drink it, but why?
Fuck
Just kidding.
that.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I thought about having my sisters over, and I was just like, like I live so far from everybody, and like it's too long of a drive, and it's just I don't know, whatever.
You just
I,
gotta
po-
get one of them 5-gallon wine glasses and then just be
yeah,
like, "I'm only having 1 glass."
I mean the Costco. I mean, he came home with that thing. He was at Costco, and he's like, well, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Oh, bring me something, wine or
Yeah.
something." He's like, "Okay," brought me home this big bottle. I was like, "All right."
Hell yeah. We're partying
Anyway,
tonight, huh? Shit.
if I'd have to go to work tomorrow, but I was just having a glass.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So hopefully you're having your own drink while you're listening. If you're not, go grab a drink. You might want to have one because we got a query in today. We got a little bit of a lengthy query, and I'm going to read it. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to read it first, and then we're going to give our thoughts and our critique on it. And this was sent to us by Robert Butler. And so far, he doesn't have any social media. I tried to reach out to him. I think that he said he just has his email. And I guess you guys can, if you want to reach out to him, if you're interested in hearing more about his book or maybe even working with him, his email is robert3butler@gmail.com. So we're gonna jump right into it. It's a lengthy one, so sit back, have a drink. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to this query, guys. And I had to put on my glasses for this because I don't know what's up with my eyes.
Eh,
Whatever. Okay. So, query. Three score years ago, 2 days before President Kennedy's assassination, he signed a resolution to remove 1,000 American troops from Vietnam. Then, the day after his funeral, President Johnson reversed Kennedy's resolution to invade North Vietnam. See NSAM 273. This was the Pearl Harbor of the war in Vietnam, out of whose shadows of controversy and deception appears a young carpenter from Appalachia named Gideon Gust. Not wanting to kill people in a war he doesn't understand, when Gideon learns the jungles of Venezuela desperately need carpenters, he embarks on a journey across half a continent that becomes a ride through the decades' turbulent history. As he endures an unforeseen gauntlet that assaults the conscience of a principled man in a world of evil, through his eyes are refracted the struggle between those who would live in harmony with nature and government, business and religious interests, who wear masks of benevolence as they ravage the earth for personal gain. As such, the saga of the Sundering 60s chronicles how an every man becomes an ecologically conscious person and lays bare the biggest environmental destroyer of all, war. And it all began during that fateful week in 1963. Here is the novel's epigraph. The organized political, social, and religious associations of our time are at work to induce the individual not to arrive at one's convictions by his own thinking, but to make his own such convictions as they keep ready made for him. By the spirit of the age, then, the man of today is forced into skepticism about his own thinking in order to make him receptive to questionable truths which come to him from authority. Albert Schweitzer. And then related titles. So we're redacting the name of his book, but he says hereafter is referred to as B2B. So B2B differs from two recently best-selling environmental novels, Powers Powers is The Overstory and King Solver's Flight Behavior, which address only two provincial aspects of the environment, trees and butterflies, and say nothing about its divine implications, while B2B addresses environmental destruction on a global scale and asserts that environmentalism is divinely relevant to every aspect of life on Earth. Indeed, National Geographic, January 2015, top of page two, proclaimed the same by predicting that a new religion could emerge in the next decade or two based on the environment. Who knows? Maybe B2B will lead this popular magazine's prediction to become true. B2B is also patterned after one of America's greatest novels, The Grapes of Wrath, in that its moral voice is a preacher whose concept of holiness catalyzes the protagonist's transformation into a relevantly conscious person. At the same time, B2B confronts the hypocritical manner that many so called Christians twist the Bible's teachings to rationalize their own selfish desires in ways that are shredding the moral fiber of our society. Yet, in the end, when Gideon seems to have lost everything, he is saved by a nun in an almshouse, an act of true Christianity. As such, B2B is a brave book, much like Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses. B2B also is a psychological novel that addresses a little known but very common social disorder, leadership complex, which shrinks the strong and swells the weak in a manner that breeds a systemic mediocrity. This disorder is profoundly disclosed in Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida, Act 1, Scene 3. Take but degree away, untune that string, and hark what discord follows. I know of no other novel that addresses this issue. Even the vast internet lists nothing under the topic leadership complex. B2B is also a historical novel that describes how some of the signal events of the 1960s, the Peace Corps, Castro's Cuba, and others, are erroneously reported in our nation's histories, in hopes that knowing the truth of the past will provide the firmest foothold toward gaining a prosperous future. I know of no other novel that corrects these histories. B2B also allegorizes how America markedly changed in the 1960s between Kennedy's assassination and the escalation of the Vietnam War. I don't want to be so brash to say redacted, could win a Pulitzer Prize. But I will say it is the kind of socially transformative, psychologically significant, and historically relevant novel that wins major literary prizes. Certainly, it is worthy of finding a prominent publisher. My qualifications to write the story. Number one, having lived in the Deep South for 21 years enabled me to authentically portray Gideon's native Tennessee in B2B. Having lived in the Deep South for 21 years enabled me to authentically portray Gideon's native Tennessee in B2B. Number three, being an architect and builder for many years enabled me to realistically portray Gideon's carpentry experiences throughout the novel. Number four, as a prominent environmentalist proven by my acclaimed book, The Ecological House, enabled me to professionally address the environmental issues appearing in this novel. Number five, I personally experienced the following events appearing in B2B. A, I once drove a Volkswagen bus all over Western America and Mexico, during which I wrote a 600-page journal. B, I personally was selected out of the Peace Corps for having a leadership complex, as were two others in my contingent. C, the impoverished family of 40 Mexicans living on a barren acre of land, the cabin in perfect condition near the ghost town, and the coastal paradise called the Parlor by the Sea really existed as portrayed. D, during my VW travels, I visited the ancient Mayan cities of, I cannot pronounce these, I'm so sorry. E, the con man piano player Benza King Smith really existed as portrayed. His real name was Robert Pritchard. F, I really was deported from Mexico for being an innocent bystander in a insurgency plot that failed, which involved Che Guevara in Yucatan. Author biography. I am a graduate of Cornell's School of Architecture. I am an architect, and I live 50 miles north of the Great White Way in New York. Okay. So that's the end of the query. He did send in his pages, but we're going to discuss the query first. I will say that he did give a little bit of an introduction that he let me read this so you guys have a better understanding. He said that he's authored 15 books, 5 on architectural engineering from McGraw-Hill. For years, these volumes were the standard in their field, and as such, he has proven track record of writing achievement. This is his first serious novel, and its genre is environmental epic, realistic fiction, social commentary. Okay, so Robert, thank you first of all for sending in your query in your first pages. We appreciate you trusting us with your work because we know how hard that is. As two writers, Ken and I know
For sure.
it is hard to send your work out, and you really have to, trust us, trust, others reading your work. So I don't know if you've listened to our podcast or if you've been listening to our podcast. I'm going to assume you haven't, just because you did mention that you weren't really sure what a podcast is. But we do have an episode back in episode 10, and I encourage you to go back and give it a listen. We talk about how to write a query. So the first thing I want to say is most agents ask for you to have at least 200 to 450 word query. Okay. Yours comes in at 969 words. So that's a lot. The reason why they ask for such a short query is you have to think an agent is getting hundreds of queries a day. A day. Okay. We're talking like maybe, I don't know, 300, 500, 700. Okay. So let's say an agent is telling themselves, I'm going to read 100 queries today. I'm picking a high number. Maybe it's 50, maybe it's 25. I don't know. But let's just say 100. Okay. They're telling themselves today, I want to read 100 queries. I can get through this slush of queries. And they come across a query that's 969 words. I I can probably say with certainty that it's going to get passed immediately. You're going to get an out
100%
of
instant reject. 100% instant
yes, and
reject,
you're going to get
definitely.
sent a decline with a form rejection. Why? Because it's just too long. It's just once they start to scroll down and see this is a long query, they're not going to read it. And the reason why is because they expect you to know that your query should be between 200 and 450 words. Okay. So yours is definitely on the much longer side. Okay, so we need to shrink this down. We need to shrink it down to the important pieces that you need for the agent, so that the agent is going to want to request the rest of your work, right? Because when you're querying an agent, the goal is for them to say, "Oh, send me the full," because that's what we're aiming for. And then, of course, when they read the full, they fall in love with it, and then they want to rep us, and then right? So, um, right now, you probably wouldn't even make it past them reading it, and that's a bummer because you have a great concept here. Okay, you have a great concept, great idea, and we want to make sure that those agents get to your first pages. Okay, so um, we uh, we want to start off in the first paragraph of your query. Your query should have 3 paragraphs. Okay, and that's just like basically just condensing down your story enough to where the agent wants to read it, like we were saying. Okay, so first you want to do is you want to address the agent. I know you didn't hear. I don't know if you don't know. I'm going to assume that you don't, so I'm just going to go on the assumption that you don't know, but you definitely want to address it as dear, and then whatever the agent's name is that you're querying. You definitely don't want to just put dear agent and then send it out to a mass amount. You want to personalize that. So if you're querying a certain agent, put their name at the top, okay? And then you're going to say, I am submitting my manuscript of, and you don't give your word count here. So typically, we would need a word count, 90,000 words. I don't know, 95,000, 85,000, whatever you want. And they want that for a reason as well. One, it lets the agent know if you are ready to be published. Because if you have a book at 250,000 words, you're not ready, because that's too long. That's way too long. There's no way they're going to sell a book that's 250. Even 150,000 would be tough. So you really kind of want to you and research your genre. I mean, you didn't give your genre. I don't know. I'm guessing it's adult. Okay, I'm just gonna say that I'm guessing it's an
Yeah,
adult. It definitely
good
doesn't
guess.
sound like it's YA or middle grade or anything like that. So it takes place in Vietnam. I don't know if your protagonist is a teenager. I don't know if he's 19. I don't know if he's 18. I don't know if he's 25. I don't know. Whatever. You want to put that. So you want to put, I am submitting my manuscript, a 90,000 word manuscript, adult. What did you say here? Environmental epic, realistic fiction, novel. Okay, whatever. And then you want to give a hook, which is a kind of like, I don't know if it's a new thing, but the agents are definitely pushing a hook right now. They want you to start off with the hook right away, because they want to know if you can condense your story down and make it interesting, make it sound interesting to them. And obviously a hook is to grab the agent. Just so you know, Robert, a hook is like 1 or 2 sentences. And I can give examples. There's a few examples of some. I don't know how familiar you are with some of these books, but these are some of the books that are pretty popular that I'm going to just kind of read to you, that you can go back and, hopefully hopefully you can figure it out. Okay. So let me just scroll down to one here. I'm looking for, um, hopefully, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. So the hook for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is 4 kids travel through a wardrobe to the land of Narnia and learn of their destiny to free it with the guidance of a mystical lion. So in that hook, right away, you know exactly what the story is about. You know that there's 4 protagonists. You know that they travel through this wardrobe that takes them to a place named Narnia. It's so simple, but it's hooky enough that the agent is saying, "Ooh, I really want to read this. I really want to read about escaping through a wardrobe
Mm.
to Narnia," and that's why he was published. So it's super simple, but it grabs you, it grabs the reader, it grabs the agent. So you need a hook, okay? I don't know your story, obviously, so I wouldn't be able to tell you what that hook would be for your book, but hopefully you might have some ideas. I would encourage you to go read, do a Google search of hooks for popular books. books that maybe you might relate to that you've read, and then when you read those hooks, you're gonna be like, "Oh, okay, I get it." And then you
That's
should
a
be
good
able to
idea.
figure out how to do it for your book, okay? So, after you give your genre, the age, the word count, and the hook, then what you wanna do is you wanna introduce your main character. Now, you did do that. His name is, Gideon Gust, which is great, but you don't tell us what Gideon wants. We know he doesn't want to go to Vietnam, right? I believe you said that he doesn't wanna go fight in Vietnam and kill people, whatever. But what does he want? I'm guessing he is an environmentalist, and I'm taking a guess of because of what I've read in the first few
It
pages.
says he becomes an environmentalist on his journey.
Okay, so he's okay.
Yeah.
So you want to when you introduce Gideon, you want to you want to kind of allude to that, like maybe he's on the cusp or something, and he's thinking about it. Maybe I don't know, but you want to give that internal wound. What is the thing that's bothering him? What does he want? But also the thing that's bugging him, the emotional wound, so that you can connect that to his desire. And then, so he wants to, I guess, save the environment. He doesn't want to go to Vietnam. He feels that he can. I'm just kind of pulling. I mean, this may be totally wrong. Okay, if it's wrong, I apologize. He wants to maybe help mankind by building home and relationships, but like figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um,
You could go
and
something along the lines of when Gideon Gust sees all of his neighbors getting drafted to go to Vietnam, he discovers an opportunity in Venezuela and decides to use his carpenter skills to escape being sent off to war.
yeah,
And then,
maybe
like
he
simple
lost.
like that in that vein.
Yeah, because the emotional wound would be maybe he lost someone in a war. Maybe his dad died in a war. I don't
Well, we
know, but
don't know the character, but yes,
well,
like you can,
right.
yeah,
You kinda wanna connect that, to the story so that he's not just like I mean, I get like, I wouldn't wanna go to war either and kill people, but I
yeah,
feel like for a story, you want, a more of a deeper reason, right?
yeah.
So, okay, so once you introduce him with him as he's a carpenter, or he's a carpenter with, environmentally sav- s- um, savvy or whatever. And I don't know, but you need to figure out how to make that character intriguing for the agent, and then a little bit of a hint of his arc too,
Sorry to
because they
interject here, but
Mhm.
also the genre. I didn't really
Yes.
see a genre I recognize there at all. It just sounded like a bunch of random words, you know what I mean, to
Yes.
kind of
So,
describe it.
because the comps that he gave, they were like political fiction. One of them just said novel.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Political
maybe you could go
fiction.
political fiction or even literary fiction since you're leaning towards
Yeah.
that, but I don't believe the 4 words you use to describe the genre are viable, genres that people use to place your book
And
in
he
bookstores.
actually put that in the introduction for us. That's actually not in the query.
Mm,
So you definitely want to put that in the query, Robert.
%.
Yes. And so once you explain your main character and we get what does he want more than anything, there has to be something that he wants. I don't know what that is. I was thinking he was already an environmentalist, so maybe he like wants to because he says he can go to the jungles of Venezuela, but he wants to go there instead of Vietnam, right? If I'm reading it correctly. But let's have another reason and connect that to his emotional wound. And I don't know what that could be. I mean, I could give examples. Maybe his mother was uh, a spiritualist, didn't like to even cut down trees. Maybe she didn't like to use paper. I don't know. Just something that he needs something that's going to really draw him to become. If he becomes an environmentalist later, then he has to already have that kind of that little thing, that little quirk, like his. like an example I was
Yeah.
saying, like
I
his
mean,
mom.
uh, and I could be reading it wrong too. Like he could already be partially an environmentalist, but from what I gained, he becomes more and recognizes it through his travels and stuff. But I'm not 100% on my,
So, but I would still give him a connection,
yes,
something that's going to propel him along. Oh, I remember my grandmother talking about the trees or talking about the animals,
The Dust Bowl in the 30s where all the dust
yeah,
because
so
there was
that
no
he
roots
has
and
that, yeah, that he has that thing
around
already
it.
that's
Yeah,
kind of, then when he
erosion,
goes there and
blah
he's,
blah blah.
yeah,
Sorry.
that way, no, it's okay. So I would, so you want to do that in that first paragraph. And then what you want to do is, what is getting in the way of what he wants? Okay. So you obviously for you, I think it's the government, the religious interests, big businesses, whatever, and the war, obviously,
The
right?
draft, yeah,
The draft, yeah, all
yeah.
of that, right? So we know, so that's good. But I would, I think you could condense that and really shrink it down, and you'll have to just, you'll have to dig deep to figure out what words you want to use to portray that and keep it as short and crisp as possible. And that's the
Well,
beauty about words.
I can 100% see his roots in writing nonfiction and textbook style work.
Yes.
It
Because
it
this reads like a textbook.
it does. It's
Yes.
too structured. It doesn't have the pop of what uh current fiction calls for, agents,
So,
publishers.
right, because you start off your query with history, like a history lesson that
Yeah.
I don't think we need. That length of, we get it that, Kennedy was going to pull them out and then he died and then Johnson went against it. Um, I think that you
Focus
have
more on
that.
the character
Yeah, because and
in the beginning.
then you have us looking up CNSAM dash 273. An agent's not going to go look that up. Okay,
No,
they're
there's
not going to look it up.
citations to look up.
There's
Yeah, no.
citations, right? And then you do it again about a magazine, some magazine. I forget which one it was. It was here somewhere. That written in 2015. They could look at the first paragraph or something. They're not going to do that.
No.
So you don't want to
It's
send them on a research.
no, it's too formal, it's too stiff, it's too which is
Yes,
okay when you're coming from a nonfiction or a textbook standpoint. That's brilliant.
but
That's how you're supposed to do it.
yes, but
From
if you're
this,
going into
you need character voice. It's a
yes.
totally different writing style than a
So
nonfiction world you're coming from.
So, Robert, the agent and readers, they want to know about Gideon. Like,
Yes.
I, not to be mean, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I don't care about the history. I want to know about Gideon. I
Yes.
want to get to know him as a character because I'm about to go on a journey with him. And if I don't know anything about him, I'm going to close my book and I'm going to be like,
Yes.
nope, this isn't for me. Okay.
Well, agents
So,
are too.
and yeah, sadly, because your query, this query is not doing it for you. It really isn't doing anything for your book.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, they probably won't even read it. It's going to be automatically a decline, and you don't want
Yes.
that, and we don't want that
No.
for you either. That's why we want to
Hell
help
no.
you. So, so once you get that, and telling us who your main character is, tell us what they want more than anything, connect that to their emotional wound, what's getting in the way, and make that clear and precise exactly what's
Mhm.
getting in the way of what he wants. Okay. And not listing, don't list, environment agents, I mean, excuse me, governments, religious interests, big business, don't list it. Just pick one. Okay.
Yes.
or
And
or just condense it enough to where the agent gets it, like, oh, okay, so that's what's in
and
his
the
way.
and the bio blurb should only be maybe 3 or 4 sentences at most, and even 4 sentences about the reason
Oh
why
yeah.
you write this novel will turn agents off.
Yeah, we'll get to the bio for sure
Yeah,
because the bio was a little lengthy too.
it
But
was massive.
and then so once you do that, then your paragraph two, okay, your paragraph two is going to focus on, you're going to introduce the main conflict. Okay, what is the main conflict in your book? How does it affect your main character? And why do they have to get involved? Okay, so I'm guessing your main conflict is obviously the war. right? He doesn't want to go to war because Johnson is now not pulling these men out of Vietnam. So now they're all having to go, they're getting drafted. People don't want to get drafted. They don't want to fight in this war that they don't understand. The main, if that's the main conflict, I'm guessing that's what the main conflict is.
Yeah.
But there also should be the conflict should also be able to connect, and which you do have that, like, you're like, he doesn't want to kill. I mean, I get that. Like, I resonate with that. I wouldn't want to kill people either, even if it's a
Yeah.
war. But you want to make that very clear. And then your third paragraph is you want to show the stakes being raised as the story progresses. Okay, and you're going to give like two or three obstacles that your main character has to overcome. So, and then like to overcome them and resolve the main conflict. What does Gideon have to do? And what's gonna happen if he doesn't do it? And there should be like a dilemma in that third paragraph. It should be something like he must choose this or face this before this bad thing happens. Okay. Then that's the stake. I don't know what your stake is in this book. It's very vague, it's very wordy. And remember, you're dealing with agents that are a little bit younger. Maybe you might find an agent that's a little bit older for this type book, maybe. But you kind of want to just spell it out. You just want to like put it out there. Don't try to be flowery with your words and use these like big words and keep it vague like that. Really just point it out. Make it super obvious to someone or to the agent. What's going to happen if because right now I don't know what's gonna happen. There's nothing there that's telling us, is he gonna die? Is he I don't know. I don't know what the stake is. Um, I wish I knew because I would like to know what it is. Does he end up having to go to war? Does he I don't know, but figure it out. I'm sure you have it. It's just not written in the query. Okay. And then again, the last paragraph, like Ken was saying, is your autobiography. Just a small, you only need a couple sentences, tell them where you live. Um, let's see, you did say you write or you have a degree. Where is it at? Um, where let's see your qualifications. Okay, here we go. Sorry. It's like 3 pages that I had to print out. You said you went to school of architecture. You could put that you wrote your books for McGraw-Hill, but honestly, I don't think that's gonna help your case because McGraw-Hill is, those are just textbooks. Those are like textbooks, school books, right? I believe that's
Yeah.
what they do. Unless they do more, maybe I just don't know, but I don't see how that's gonna help you with writing a novel because those are 2 different things.
Yeah. I mean, you could still put them in there. Like, I get that, to show that you've written stuff and have been published. I get that, but it definitely needs to be shrunk down to a
Yeah.
much smaller, compact punch of a
But
of a
even
bio.
still, my honest opinion is I don't think they would care because it's
Yeah.
not a novel. It's nowhere near writing a novel. It's just not even in the same category. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like saying you know how to um save lives if you're working, I don't know, if you're doing something that has nothing to do with saving lives, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it
Yeah.
just doesn't matter because it's just, I would just keep it with, talking about maybe your love for the environment, that you are an environmentalist and that you wanted to tell a story about some of your personal, history with it. And I think that's great. I think that's clear, it's concise, they'll get why you're writing a story like this because it's something that you feel is important and that you connect with. And I would almost prefer hearing that than everything that you did, driving a bus, getting deported,
Yeah.
all those things. I'd rather just hear you say, "Well, I'm an environmentalist and, I wrote the story, whatever," right?
Yeah.
So, and then okay. So you need a hook, you need your genre, if it's political fiction, um,
Or literary.
or literary fiction. Is it is this oh my gosh, it just my mind just blanked. A semi autobiography because you say that it is based on real people. So, as or did you just have those characters based on those real people? You said that a lot of this stuff was stuff that really happened or that really not happened, excuse me. The places that you write are what it really looked that way, I think I read. Um, I don't know, is this like a semi autobiography or is just a story? Um, I don't know. But I if it is, then maybe mention that because then I think it's completely different. That's a completely different query. A
Well, it's a
completely
fictional
different
character, but it could be based on somewhat
based
on a true
on yeah, or
story.
whatever.
Yeah,
But
on some true stories or, you know.
mhm, and then we need the word count. So you need the word count, you need your genre. You do need your comp titles. Those comp titles you did give, where is that? They were, a little on the older side.
Mhm.
They were, in, like, 2012, I think, and 15, something like that. So those are a little older. I mean, I guess in this book, maybe you could still comp those, I guess, maybe because it's not like,
Yeah.
uh I don't know. And I did look up those books that you, put down, and they do sound like your story, so, yeah, I would keep the comps. Yeah, just keep the comps, but give their full name of the author. You only give the last names. I would give the full name just because, you should. You
Yeah.
should give the full name of the author. I mean, they wrote that book. They at least deserve that.
And just a simple hack to top it all off, like if you just Google how to write a query or successful queries of published writers, you can go through a list and read the queries. And they'll give
Yeah,
you such a beautiful picture on what to write
yes.
and how to format and kind of what you're looking at to catch an agent's
Yeah,
attention.
I know it is hard to see it as I'm talking, telling you about these 3 different paragraphs and then the
Yeah,
biography paragraph. He's right, it is hard to visualize that maybe for some people. So yeah, definitely go and Google. There are places that teach you how to write a query, and I definitely feel like you would do well with Googling for yourself.
absolutely.
Um, and like I said, you only have 200 to 450 words, so you're really gonna have to figure out what's the meat of your book, the meat of your character. Let us get to know your character, because that's why we're reading your book, because not only do we love the premise, but we wanna love the character as well, okay?
Yes.
And then, yeah, so you definitely don't need all the history. You don't need the history lesson that you're giving in these. I definitely wouldn't address your book as the B2B. That seems a little odd. I would just put the title of the book. And when you do put the title of the book in your or in your query, it needs to be in all caps. So that just helps the agent see that that's the name of the book. They know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just your name of the book needs to be in all caps, nothing else. Okay, so now you did send us the first few pages of your manuscript, and um, again, I actually kinda liked your first line. The first line is, "It is the end of the story." And I thought, "Oh, that's cool. I
Mhm.
like that." It was instantly like, "Oh, it's the end of the story. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna read more." So I was that works. I like that.
Yes.
Um, and then, you go on to talk about, let's see, you address him. I would name your character right away. So that after the first line, it says, the final act of a grueling summer motivate where he has excelled. Instead of he has, just put in there Gideon Gust has excelled.
Yeah.
Okay. Because my first thought was who?
Yeah.
And yes, I know it's gonna be on the back of the jacket copy is gonna have his name, but you really wanna put his name in the book. I mean, don't be afraid to use his name in that, especially in the very beginning of your book.
Early.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Very early on, let us know what his name is. Okay. So that was another suggestion. You have a lot of zooming in. Okay. So as writers, we zoom in, we zoom out, we're looking at the details, then we have to pull back a little bit, right? You have a lot of zooming in, a lot that felt a little heavy. Okay. Um, there was just like a lot of things that your character was noticing that I wasn't sure he needed to notice. And I believe that we talked about this in our Stephen King episode when we went through Stephen King's book on writing, and even he talks about how when we go in to describe certain scenes, we don't have to describe everything. We
Yes.
don't. We just need to just set the scene. That's all you need to do is just sort of set the scene. Let the reader sort of fill in the rest on their own. But
Yes.
definitely put us in the scene to where we know where you're at and a few things that are in that room. We can figure out the rest.
Yes.
It doesn't, so
The
there
reader's
was a
imagination will fill the holes, and that's the beauty of describing just
yes.
enough.
Yes, and that's the
Yeah.
beauty of reading, right?
Yes.
Is just be able to kind of you're building it in your mind, right? You're
Yes.
building in your mind. You're putting yourself in that scene, but don't overbear us with too many details because then we're just we're not really reading to be in it. We're kind of just reading it because like, oh, and that's there. Oh, and that and there's this. Oh, okay. It can
Yeah.
be a little overwhelming.
It's
Okay.
overkill.
It's
Overkill in
overkill.
description. Yeah.
So, and then we just kind of want to get to what's happening in the scene, right?
Yes.
Set us in the scene and then what's going to happen in the scene. Don't
Yes.
take too long setting the scene. The scenery, I mean, excuse me.
Yeah, you should set the description 100% what you said, but if you go overboard, then we're like, "I don't give a shit," as a reader. Like, "I don't care." I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it. I've been guilty of
I,
over-describing.
yeah, well, I've been guilty of I've told you guys when I read the Wicked book, that writer just went on for an eternity that I was skipping the pages. I was like, "When do we get back to the story? I
Yes.
don't care that the grass is slowly growing. I just get me back to the story."
And I love Robert Jordan, but he'll, like, describe the buttons on the women's dress, and I'm like, "I don't
Right.
give a shit, okay?
It's
Get
it's
to
it's
the
just too much.
story."
So
Yeah.
I would okay, Robert, I would encourage you. Ken and I met on a website called critiquematch.com. Okay,
Mhm.
critiquematch.com. You go on there and you find other critique partners. Okay, it's a critique partner website. Why do you need a critique partner? You need a critique partner. We all need critique partners because a,
100%.
a critique partner is going to tell us what's wrong with our story, like, but helpful, like in a helpful way.
Yes. Constructive
But
criticism.
a constructive yes, because when we're reading our work and we're the only ones reading our work, it's the greatest thing we've ever written. It's the greatest
Ever.
thing, and we're gonna be famous, right? Because
Yeah,
we love our
obviously.
work, we love our story, we love our characters, but you have to send it to other people that can look at it critically
And
and you
objectively
and
fuck you
objective
over. No, I'm
well,
sorry.
but I mean, you want that because, you know,
Yeah.
not everybody is gonna see the story the way that we see it,
No, we
right?
see it through
This
rose-colored glasses. Like, if you're chilling in a me bubble, you're the greatest writer that's ever lived? And
yes,
you
and
need
you
people to
want
pop
people
that
to
fucking
like
bubble.
yeah, and you want people to like wanna read your book, right? You don't
Yeah,
wanna be the only one to read your book, you want other people to read it.
exactly.
So, I would encourage you go and anyone that's listening, if you don't have a critique partner, go on critiquematch.com. I know there are other critique places you could go to, it's just the one that we use, so it's the one we talk about the most, okay?
Yeah,
And we don't get paid for that, it's not we get nothing for telling you guys
no.
to go on there, we're just trying to be
But
helpful.
yeah, and it's also helpful critiquing seeing other people's work and being like,
Yes.
"Huh," like you learn so much from the process of sharing your work
Yes.
with people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would encourage you to go on there, get a critique partner if you don't already have one. Find someone that can kind of explain to you, and they will go line by line. I did notice that you could probably put this through, go through and fix some of your spelling errors. There were a couple spelling errors in those first few pages. I mean, I don't think an agent cares too much about the spelling errors, to be
Yeah.
honest, but you really want to send them a good, clean manuscript. Like you want to go through that with a fine tooth comb if you can and get it as clean as possible before you send it to the agent.
Yeah.
So and I would encourage you to do that as well. And a critique partner can do that. They will, in fact, they will point out to you, this is spelled wrong.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? A lot of us do that.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I would just, if for sending it to an agent, I would clean it up. Um, your the dialogue. Okay, so the dialogue. One thing I noticed that when your character was talking, you have straight dialogue. It's just
Yes.
straight all the way down. There was hardly any interiority. I didn't know what your character was thinking. I didn't know what your character was feeling. It was just straight dialogue, just boom, 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 with nothing to break it up. And um, I think the only time that works is if you have witty characters, like a witty banter between characters. But
Yeah.
when that happens, we know that those characters like to do that. And so it's sort of pleasing as the reader because we get to see them banter.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting that I'm not getting that vibe from the first few pages. It was
No.
just like they're telling him he's not going to go do this, he's not getting picked for that, and but there was nothing, he wasn't thinking about anything really. I mean, you had like one line, but it was direction, like he inhaled or
Yeah.
he moved his hand. But I wanted to know what he was thinking when they were telling him, giving him the bad news. What is he thinking? What is he feeling? Is he, I don't know. I wanted to be inside Gideon's mind while he's getting told this bad news. And you
Yes.
didn't give us any of that. It was like not there.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage you, send it out to someone that can read those first pages and sort of help you. But I would maybe go back and put yourself in that scene as your character and think, if my commander or my boss, whatever, is telling me this, how would I feel about it? Like, would I be thinking, this smug son of a bitch, who does he think he is? Or I don't know,
It
something
depends
that's
on what
gonna
your character thinks. Like, how do you yeah,
right,
how's your character feel about
right.
this? Like, what do they
Exactly. I was
think
just gonna
at the
say
moment?
in
Yeah.
his voice, in your character's voice, because that's how we get to know your character, as the thoughts that they have inside. We
Yes.
want to know how they think. Is he thinking, "Oh my god, he's so right. I should have done better," or is he like, he's a smug son of a bitch. I hate this guy." I don't know. I
There's
would
a
like to
million
know.
different ways the character can take it, and it's all up to you to
To
let us see a window into your character's soul,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, let us get to know that character while he's having this conversation, and don't just have a string of dialogue with
Yes,
nothing that I'll tell you what will happen if you're reading a string of dialogue. It's boring.
it
It's
is.
just boring, and you
Like
probably would just skip over it
yes. And the characters
because
need to be doing something between the dialogue and you know,
doing
like
and thinking, your
yes,
main
doing and
character.
thinking. Yes. They need to be doing, like, fidgeting. They need to, seeing the gold buttons on the dude's jacket or, like, anything.
Yeah,
You need a
exactly.
little
Is
bit
he
of what he's sensing, thinking,
Mhm.
feeling, you know.
Does he have like an attention deficit and he's looking at a hummingbird outside the window and,
Or is the clock ticking
it's
and,
a yeah.
like, we don't know your character.
So that's a great point, Ken. Okay, the
Yeah.
clock ticking, because that's something that could set the
Tension.
mood
Yes.
in that scene. Okay, he's getting irritated, he's getting annoyed. It's causing him to fidget. It's causing him to want to, I don't know, l- get out of the room. Like he wants to leave or something. All he keeps hearing is the tick tock, or every
Yeah, his
time
collar's
there's
tightening down and, like
yeah,
yeah.
something that it you're painting that scenery with the mood as well, okay? You
Yes.
have to add that mood. I
Because
wanna know
just
if
the
he's
long block of dialogue comes off like almost White Room, but like
yeah,
robotic White Room,
yes, yeah,
where it's just like, "Yes, no, yes, no, okay, maybe, yes, I don't know."
and
It's
just so
very
you
yeah,
know, all dialogue should propel the plot in some way as well. You
yes,
can't have just people talking for no reason. They have to discover something, they have to figure something out, or I don't know.
yes,
But yeah, I feel like you have a great premise here, but
yes,
it's missing it's missing in the query, okay, for sure, because
Yeah.
it's just not there. It is just not there. As much as I tried, I read this like 3 times trying to figure it out, and I kinda got like a small little idea of what your book is about. But I think it's cool that, like, you're I mean, you have the theme, right? Your theme of your book is obviously saving the environment and doing something so, that to me is appealing. I think that's great. And
And a
there's
period
definitely
piece in the '60s and, like, all
Mhm.
that is really cool, like, it's a great premise, the
And
carpenter. Yeah.
there's room for a book like that, I think, for today.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I feel like you would have a lot of readers that would be interested in a premise like this because it
Yes.
does hit with a lot of especially young people today,
Yes.
young and old. So that in itself is fantastic. You
Yeah.
just wanna you just wanna get the query clean and concise and clear, and then really build up the writing and the scenery, especially in those first few pages.
Query,
Um,
critique partner, and definitely take a look at your writing because it's missing a few aspects of modern novels, the
yes.
interiority, a few of the, like, I don't know the exact wording, so it's gonna sound stupid, but, like, the tags, not just the tags, but, like, what there has to be action in between dialogue. If it's straight dialogue,
It was just
like we
straight
said,
dialogue.
it's just straight
Yeah,
dialogue. It's just nobody's gonna wanna read that. They're
yeah.
like, "We need little bits of things thrown in there." So, I believe coming from the nonfiction world that you're coming from
Mhm,
has definitely leaked into the novel a little bit, and definitely you have the right premise and the right story idea, but you need to get with a critique partner, um, read some modern books,
mhm.
fiction, and take another look and maybe another pass or two on your pages. I think would be in
Yes.
order in the future after you've gained this new information.
Yeah.
Because right now it reads too robotic, which
Like a
comes from
textbook.
the nonfiction side, yes, which you're great at and brilliant at and very
Yeah.
prolific at, which is awesome. But to bridge, to a totally new discipline
Yeah.
in creative in fiction, um, it's not translating as well as it should. And I think a little more studying on your part
Yeah.
how to write modern fiction would help you greatly
Mhm.
because the premise is cool as fuck. I like the idea. Like your writing is beautiful. You're eloquent.
Yes. Yes.
It's brilliant.
I
But
was gonna say too,
yeah,
the writing is really pretty. It is nice. You
it
have a
is.
really some really good sentences there. But yeah, I definitely feel like maybe reading some more and then seeing when you read it, read how they're putting the sentence. You have a lot of sentences that are really long. They're like
Hmm.
long sentence and then another long sentence and then another long sentence. The thing about writing is it needs to be like music, like a rhythm, think of like
Yes.
waltzing. It has to be like it needs to read like a waltz. You have some long and then you have short.
Yeah.
Medium sentences or you're elongating and then another short sentence. It should really sort of read like music. And you have just long, long, long long, and that can be tedious as a reader trying to read through it.
Which
It's
is
just
great in
not
a
flow.
textbook.
Yes.
That works good. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's a gunner. He was a gunner in the Navy for 20 years. And he's been on the ocean for 20 years, and now he's got to run a
Mhm.
crab fishing boat. He has no fucking idea
Yeah.
how to translate. Yes, you were on a boat. Yes, you know the waters, you know the sea, you know
Mhm.
ports, blah blah blah. But it's a totally different, you know,
Yeah.
totally different style. And I believe you have all the tools to get there 100%.
I think so too. I think so too, Robert. I just feel like you definitely need to send it to a critique partner.
Yes.
Do some research on how to write a query. But my advice would be send it to a critique partner first.
Yes.
Get that fixed and cleaned up, and then you can worry about the query letter once you go through that. I I don't know. I mean, you could try querying it, but you definitely need to there's some things you gotta fix those first few pages, and you have to write a better query because unfortunately, you're gonna send this out, and you're just gonna
Get
get
insta rejected.
rejections. I
But
know, and we don't
and
want that for you.
the first pages definitely are gonna run through the rest of the novel for sure.
Yeah.
I would assume. That's just what I mean, I could be totally wrong. It could be bang on after the first few pages, but
Mhm.
usually the first few pages correlate to what's the rest of the book. So
Yeah.
I definitely a couple editing passes ahead of you.
Mhm.
And even if you just go to a bookstore and just flip through books and just kind of look at the structure
Mhm.
of the first few pages, I find that super helpful. I
Yes, I
find
do that too.
'ca- I I take my writing and I'll look at a book that's in the same genre
Mhm.
and I'll read the paragraph of theirs and read mine.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be exact, but I'm like, okay. And then the next one and the next one and the next one and so on and so on. And
Yeah.
just gives me an idea of what my writing's missing. And I think that can be
Yes.
very helpful for you
And also, other thing, I
and
forgot to
everybody
say
else.
that yes,
Yeah.
and I forgot to say this earlier, so I apologize. Those first few pages you need to sow curiosity seeds. Don't tell us everything right away.
Yeah.
Let the reader want to keep throw in some, like, little things that are like secrets, I guess you could call it, curiosity to pique our curiosity so that we wanna keep turning the page. Something that happened to Gideon. What's something that happened? Maybe it's something that happened in the past that he hasn't quite dealt with yet, and maybe he just mentions it, like, briefly, and the reader's gonna go, "Ooh, what's that? Oh, what happened?" And they're gonna wanna keep reading. So you wanna make sure that you have a little bit of that. Those are page turners. That's why people keep turning the page. That's why they stay up at till 1, 3 o'clock in the morning because they gotta know. I know because
Exactly.
I do that. That's what I do as a reader. I
Yeah.
I I, I gotta. I can't finish this yet. I gotta go to the next chapter. I need to know what it
Yeah.
is. What is it? So you also need to add that in those first few pages, and you don't have that right now. You don't have that. You probably do in your story, but I would put them in those first few pages so that if you do once you fix the query and you do get a full request, then
Yeah.
hopefully those curiosity seeds are going to keep the agent or to want to request a full. Okay.
Yeah. Your query, your pages, and your premise are an uncut gem. And you
Hmm.
need to spend some time at the sander, a good chunk of time at the sander, bringing out
Yes.
that gem.
But thank you, Robert, for sending
I
this to
appreciate it.
us. Please reach out if you're on critiquematch.com or if you get a critique partner and you're able to sort of go back and fix this, then feel free to resubmit if you want. But maybe your critique partner will be enough for you. But we wish you all the best. We thank you for sending us in your query in those first few pages. And we look forward to hopefully seeing this book on the shelf one day.
That'd be awesome.
Yes, because that's what we want for everybody that sends in, and us included. And
Yes.
Robert, we are in the query trenches with you.
Yeah. And it
So
sounds
we're
like
right.
such a cool story too, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
it
it
does.
does. If
It
it was
does.
done properly, I would love to read it.
Yes. So Ken, so I kind of wanted to finish up our villains episode that we started last week and talk about these
Okay.
three different arcs, but I think we're out of time.
Damn!
So I think we're gonna have to do a villains part 2 unless you wanna just get into it, it's up to you, but this is already over an hour.
Shit. Well, it's up to you. I'm off for 3 days. I don't give a fuck. Whatever you wanna do.
I just kind of I wanted to talk quickly about the three different arcs,
Yeah.
and so I don't have it's not too lengthy, but basically, one of the arcs is with, and I got this from Kingdom Pen. There's three different arcs that they came up with. There's the arc one, the redemption, the unfaltering arc, and the downward spiral. The redemption is obviously when your villain starts off good and then
Mm,
they fall or turn evil, and then they
love
redeem
it.
themselves.
Yeah.
And we already know the number one
Yes.
example of that.
Anakin! Yeah.
Darth Vader, bruh.
Yeah.
There's Darth Vader, but then there's also two other ones that I came up with: the Grinch
Yeah. Yeah.
and Snape from Harry
Yeah.
Potter, Professor Snape.
He's close to
So
good in the beginning. He's a little
he, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, there's an argument there for Snape, okay? Maybe he
Yeah,
didn't have to be mean to Harry, but because he was a secret agent,
yeah.
but then he
Well,
kind
he
of
was
goes a
also a
little
dick
too
to
far.
he was a dick to Petunia when he was a kid too, a little bit, and dabbling in the dark a little
Yeah,
bit.
he was. He
But
was a little bit of a snitch and a brat, whatever, but
yeah, but he was a good kid and he was bullied, so yeah,
but he redeemed himself at the end,
he
and he
did.
finally was able to show Harry and that he really did love his mother, and he was actually good and was trying to help
Two of my
Dumbledore.
favorite characters of all times. That's got to tell you something.
Oh, Snape and Vader?
And Anakin, yeah,
Oh,
two of my
yeah, okay.
favorites of all time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Are you a Slytherin?
Redemption. No, I think
What are
I
you?
was a
A
Hufflepuff.
Ravenclaw. I'm
I was a Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff! Shut
Are you?
up, me too, yes!
Yeah,
Hufflepuffs unite, yes!
yeah. How about them peeps?
Yep, yep, yep. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. Okay, good. That's
Yeah,
why we get along.
exactly.
All right, so just again, guys, this is for you guys to apply to your antagonist, and you should have an antagonist, guys. There has
Yes,
to be a bad guy that's fucking shit up for your main character. Otherwise, your
yes,
story's boring. I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's boring. If no
yeah,
one's fucking shit up for them, why
yeah.
are we even reading it? You have to have a
And,
bad
and,
guy.
and we're not just talking about a bad guy. The bad guy could be society. It could be,
Yes, but there
it could
has
be
to be an
other things. Yes,
antagonist.
there has
Don't
to be
sit
something that's fucking with your character.
Yeah, like, don't sit there and be like, "Oh, I don't need an antagonist in my story. There's bad things that happen to them." No, you need an antagonist.
It could be the environment, even
Yeah.
like there's different antagonists than just
Mhm.
humans. So
So that's one arc that you can do for your villain. I was reading that villains should have an arc. That your villains should have an arc. They're like your main character, right? Not your main
yeah,
character, but I mean, they're like they should have an arc. If you have a bad
yes,
person, something better happen to them at the end. Okay, the second arc is the unfaltering arc, and that's just when they're just evil, evil, dies.
pure
They're never
evil.
good. They don't
Yeah,
turn bad. They're just evil from the start. They continue to be evil, and they get it in the end. And
yes.
and that would be my examples that I came up with: Professor Umbridge, Voldemort, and Javert from Les Miserables.
Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber, but I love him, so I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah, you love him,
Just
but
kidding.
he's
No, I
bad.
know.
He's bad. He
Yes,
dies.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
yes. So yeah, so if that's an arc that you want to do for your villain, that's a good arc too, right? So they're
yeah.
just evil, consistently evil. They're consistent.
Sauron from Lord of the Rings, like just pure evil.
Well, so yeah, Sauron yes, yes, Sauron, not Saruman. I
Sauron,
was
not
thinking Sauron.
Saruman. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
he's just
Sauron,
evil.
the Great
Yeah, he's
Eye.
just
Yeah,
evil.
he's just
Yeah,
evil.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's just evil. So
yeah,
there's no redeeming quality. He's just an ass.
yeah,
Professor Umbridge, she was just evil from the beginning.
yeah,
Professor Umbridge and Javert are almost the same. Like they're just sticking to the rules, and God forbid you break a fucking rule.
yeah.
But
Fuck
it's just
Umbridge.
sometimes they get into the power. They get too much into the power of it all. I feel like
Yes.
so they just
Yeah.
they just ride that out, and
Yes.
then they die.
Yeah. Exactly.
They die. Actually, I'm
Good.
not sure, does Umbridge die? Do they ever say? I know she gets attacked, but
No, she
she
gets
doesn't
taken
die.
off.
Actually.
No, she doesn't die. I don't.
Oh my
Or
god. Okay. Well,
wait, maybe she
I can't remember
does.
if she does. I think it's just kind of insinuated, like it's kind of there, like she
Yeah.
gets taken off by
When the
the
centaurs take her,
yes.
obviously she lives because they just hold her captive. But during the wars, did she die? I
You
think
know, I can't
so.
remember. I think she did, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course Javert, he ends up committing suicide. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever. And then the next arc is the downfall spiral, and that's where they start off good,
Yeah.
then they turn evil, but they still die.
Yes.
They still die. So, they die as a villain. There's no redemption for them. They start off good and then they just never really turn to back to good. They just
Yeah.
stay evil.
Yeah.
And that would be Sauron, right?
Yes. Started off good.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And then of course Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight. Oh my
Yep.
god, one of my
He was
favorites.
such an upstanding
Oh,
DA.
he was like the White Knight
He was.
compared to Batman's
And then
Dark
your
Knight.
Two-Face.
Yes. So, and then also, Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park was also
Okay.
a character that falls a villain. He gets his just
Yeah, just dessert.
because he started off kind of good and then he just got greedy, greedy bastard,
Yeah.
and then dies.
Yeah, there's tons of those.
Yep. So, guys, I know this is we went over that so fast, but you get the gist of it. And so, when you're writing your villain, your antagonist, they should have an arc. I think
Yeah.
it's good when they have an arc. I enjoy it as a reader. I love it when they have an arc. It's just kind of nice to see how they end up. Either they get their just rewards or they redeem themselves, and you end up falling in love with them at the end.
Like, good to
Um,
bad to good is, like, fucking epic. It's my favorite
yes.
arc for a villain.
Hmm.
It it's difficult to pull off right, but if you do, it's a
Yeah.
character that'll live forever in people's
Yes.
hearts
Yeah.
because,
It's
oh,
why Darth Vader is so beloved.
it's why everybody loves Snape.
It's
And
yeah,
he was
yeah,
a
so
dick. He was a
oh,
dick,
yeah,
but we
yes, I
love
hated
him
him.
because yes, but we love him. He killed Dumbledore. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Right, so yeah, guys, so think about those different arcs, think about what you wanna do for your villain, and how it relates to your main character. Are they gonna redeem themselves in the end for your main character? Are they just gonna die being evil, whatever, are they gonna start off good and then end up evil? Like just things to think about, something to ponder when you're writing your villain. Sometimes we get caught up in our main character's arc, but
Yeah,
good. You finished his beer, guys.
I did.
Um, Sometimes you get caught up in your main character's arc, but if you have a villain, you should complete theirs as well. We should get
Absolutely.
hear something at the end, something that happens to them. So that's it with our villain series, I guess. We might kind of talk about it again maybe
Yeah.
later on. Maybe another new villain will come out that will come I will come become obsessed over.
Yes. There'll be
But
more villains in our future.
yes, I'm sure there will be. I look forward to reading more about them.
Oh
They
yeah.
are my favorite. Listen, I love a good main character, but I also love a good villain too. So
Oh fuck yeah.
I'm not alone in that. But anyway, so yeah, you guys, I hope that you guys were able to take something from this episode today. If you're um, listening and you're thinking to yourself that your query is like 700 words or
Yeah.
500 or 600, maybe this might be helpful to you for you to condense. Hopefully, the notes that we gave Robert, you can also apply for yourself. Again, also, you could always Google how to write a query letter. But I would, if you want, you can go back and listen to our episode 10, How to Write a Query, where we talk about that as well. We kind of go through the steps.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, and I hope that I look forward to reading you guys' villains someday.
Oh
You know what
hell
I
yeah.
mean? So I look forward to that. But if you have a query that you would like for us to query, or if you know someone who's querying, you have a writer friend that needs someone to look over their query, have them email us, two writers in a bar at gmail.com. And again, we will read the query on air. We'll give our critique, our feedback, and
Honest.
feedback on the first few pages. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys in a couple weeks. We're gonna have a whole new series. We're gonna talk about heroes. I hope you guys are ready for that.
Hell yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, you know, I know I started off backwards with the villains, but
Yeah. We started off right.
okay, good. And then we'll tackle heroes next, guys. All right. So anyway, have a good couple of weeks. We'll see you guys and happy reading, happy writing. Bye.
See ya.
That's it for today's episode, friends. We hope you learned something new today. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube under Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast. Our YouTube episodes will upload on Thursdays, the day after the show airs, if you want to watch. And if you want your query letter in first 3 pages critiqued and read on air by us, send them to our email at twowritersinabar@gmail.com. Put query on air in the subject line. We will read them on a first come, first served basis. Remember, we are here to help, inspire, and celebrate. Two Writers Walk Into a Bar podcast is produced by Brava Media Group.